Counselor? How are you doing? Good.
Regularly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's Comcast, it's channel, I'll log one of them. If it's more than an hour, I'm gonna have to peace out.
Yeah, Vince, that camera's better, it has a wider angle on it, that other angle is too.
That's fine. I had to laugh when that's a nice hookup you did. Are you looking for anything or?
Yeah.
Wait,
It's good. It's working perfectly, so.
yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, planning meeting.
Where's my shit?
How are you?
Good, really well. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Happy days.
Which may not help us much. That's one of the things for us. Yeah.
Good evening. We're going to begin the council work session for Monday, May 3rd. If you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Thomas, sir, if you would proceed with our agenda.
The first item is the Kennedy Consolidation Plan. The applicant is seeking to consolidate two parcels on Leechburg Road. The goal is to create a lot large enough to be able to construct a detached garage. The properties, once combined, would be a little bit more than half an acre. They are zoned as single-family residential. And this is a simple subdivision, and at this time only requires council to accept the application as complete.
Discussion. Agenda item.
The Bayjack subdivision, item number 2. This application is also a simple subdivision that was accepted as complete last month. At this time, the recommendation would be to approve the application. The applicant in this case is seeking approval to revise the lot lines between two adjacent properties on Walnut Street and Columbia Road. The new combined properties, are approximately 15 acres, also zoned single-family residential. And again, at this time, the staff is recommending approval of the application upon final review and approval by the borough engineer.
Any discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 3 is and I apologize, I think it's the will check.
I don't know how you say it.
Okay. The will check consolidation plan, sorry, there's a typo there. Again, this is the application. The applicant is seeking permission to consolidate two lots on Allegheny Place for the very same reason as the first one, to construct a detached garage on the newly combined lot. These two properties would be approximately 0.77 acres and are also zoned single-family residential. Again, also simple subdivision that only requires council to accept the application as complete.
Any discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 3 is the agricultural security area recommendation. Included in your agenda packet is a link to the final document completed by the ASA Advisory Board with, and I would like to give a little shout out to the staff for putting that all together. I think the planning staff did an excellent job with that. It's a 125-page document. The pages 1, 2, and 3 are the most salient details of the document that explain the final result and the reasons for the final recommendation and the reasons for that recommendation. Most of the other documentation is just exhibits or backup for the maps, the soils analysis and things. It is the recommendation of the ASA Advisory Board that council establish the agricultural security area. That can be found on page 3, sections 4 and 5. This document, an application has been approved, or I should say recommended, by the Borough Planning Commission, the Allegheny County Planning Commission, and, well, the whole application was started by the Allegheny County Conservation District. And we have completed all the requirements under the agricultural security law for the creation, so at this time, the recommendation by the group is to create the ASA.
And we don't actually have to advertise this 125-page
It's all been
document.
done at this point.
It's,
Every-
okay,
yep.
good. Now, I don't see the listing of the members of the ASA in here. Does
Dave,
that
do
have
you
to go in
recall
here?
exactly where it is?
Yeah, if you have the document link open, the table of contents actually has a hyperlink to each of those subsections. So if you go to summary of the proposed applicants for the ASA, which is the fourth one down, if you click on that, that'll take you right down to the page that shows what you're looking for there.
Those are the people that,
That have applied to be in the agricultural security area.
Yeah, well,
I
I'm
got
sorry, what were you
yep.
looking for?
I thought we appointed, other than these individuals, like Dave Vento is.
So you're looking for the people
Oh,
on the advisory
The
board.
advisory
the
board members.
itself,
Oh.
correct.
Dave, do you want to go over the members of your advisory board?
Well, off the top of my head, I don't have their names in front of me,
I'm just
unfortunately.
wondering, does it have to be in this document?
Apparently not.
No, but there's a letter
It's
in
up-
this
it's up to
document
us.
from the advisory board making a recommendation.
Right.
Okay.
It is up to us who we have on the board, though, depending on their qualifications.
I know
and
at one of
their
the
land.
council meetings, we formally identified all the members of your
Right.
board.
Correct.
I just didn't know if it had to be in this document that we're signing out, that I list by name who are the members on the board.
No.
Okay. All right, any other discussion?
The only
Agenda.
thing, if I can just add something, one of the things that you look at in the findings of fact were that there were applications received after the deadline to be included in the ASA. So there was one application received in a timely manner, and that was moved forward as part of the ASA. We received an application probably, 2 weeks after the deadline closed, and then actually we received another application the day after the public hearing, which was held last week. The recommendation of staff in the solicitor's office, who worked with Dane on this application, is that only the people that applied in the timely manner as prescribed by the law be included with the ASA. Now, certainly, we understand the advisory committee, it's sort of, there's the law here, then the advisory committee wants to open this up to as many people as possible. And I think, I think staff's recommendation is that, hey, if you miss this deadline, you should get together and submit another application. And I think staff would also ask council to try and guide people to say, hey, this is only going to be a once-a-year type thing. If we have to go through this every 6 months, it is a lot of work. But I think we're trying to balance what the law, the ASA law says, here's how you do it. But yeah, we had some other people apply outside of those parameters. So our recommendation is that the people who applied inside the parameters will be included in the approval.
Right, but we can reopen it, like you said, maybe once a year, we'll have an open enrollment in the ASA plan or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think we can control, when we get the application, we get the application. But if we can guide people to say, hey, get people together, and, if there are 10 different individuals, let's do this all at one time, instead of having,
Right.
10
And I think that when the ASA members are out and about talking to their farmer neighbors, more of this, word of this is gonna get out, and I think, they think also, not just me, but it's really their word that I'm going by now, that they feel that more people might be interested in joining this once they find out what it is.
Right.
Because, naturally, a lot of people are skeptical to things right away, so we'll see what happens. If not, then, we don't have to have it open if nobody's knocking at the door, so.
Any other discussion? Agenda item.
Item number 5 is the Renton Park Phase 3 grant application. We've talked about this for a number of years now, the upgrades that we've been trying to do to all of our parks. Renton Park Phase 1 and Phase 1A.
Phase, yeah.
1 and 1.5 are
Yes.
done, are essentially completed at this point. The design and everything for phase 2 is already in. The final phase of this project, staff is asking for authorization to submit a grant to the Pennsylvania Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program grant. We're looking at a total estimated cost of this project and a grant application. The total estimated cost is $135,000. As we get closer to the final application, we'll have a more finite cost for that. The borough required match is $15,000 or about 20,000. Excuse me, 15% or about 20,000.
Discussion. Agenda item.
Can I just add a real quick note there, Mike? Just for council, I don't know if you saw the email that came out. We did receive funding for Phase 2 of Renton Park in the amount of $138,000. We had budgeted our share this year, so our goal is to get Phase 2.0 constructed this year also.
That's great. Yeah. Nice. Good to go.
Item number 6 is a cost of living adjustment for a retired police officer. We do this every so often. I think council's pretty much familiar with this process.
Discussion on that? Agenda item.
Item number 7 it is an executive session item to discuss police personnel, potential police personnel changes. Item number 8 is proposed amendments to the civil service regulations. The chief and I met with the Civil Service Commission last week. We discussed some possible changes to this, some recommended changes to the civil service regulations related to the application process. There were a number of things that we felt would improve the application process, hopefully get more applicants, because that's one of the problems we have, as well as make the process a little bit more efficient. So the first one was, and they're in no particular order, the application itself. Our civil service regulations actually refer to a specific application. It's an exhibit in the regs, and we just think that needs to be changed. The application that it refers to is just the regular generic, if you will, borough application for employment. It doesn't ask some things that you might want to have on a police application, and it also asks some things that are unnecessary for police applications. So they wanted to personalize or get some more details on the application itself. Our recommendation is that we just modify the civil service regulations to reference the fact that the application will be recommended, a format will be recommended by the chief and approved by the Civil Service Commission, and leave it at that. That way, for each process, if they need to tweak the application, we can do that without having to go back and amend the regulations every time. The second item was the cost of the application. When I first started doing this almost 30 years ago, we used to get 200 plus, 250, even approaching 300 applicants for a position. The last time we did this, we opened up the employment process for police officers, we got 17. Right now, our application fee is $50. That application fee covers the cost of the exam and some other materials and some things. We do have some expenses for conducting employment testing for police officers, probably in the neighborhood of about $4,000 to $5,000 per test. But it's an important enough thing that I think that, that's money well spent. In considering this, we discussed whether or not to have any fee at all. We did feel that if we had no fee, you might just get a bunch of people going, oh, why not? I guess I'll just apply and see what happens. So the recommendation from the staff as well as the Civil Service Commission is to reduce the fee from 50 to 25. And our fee was 25 15 years ago. And the last modification.
Hey, Mike, real quick. Maybe I'm missing something. It's is that the same as the applicant fee, the 33.024?
Yes.
It says 35.
It says 35. Our fee is 50.
It says on the bottom, the current application fee of $50 is proposed to be reduced to $25.
Thank you.
The same, under number 8.
Okay.
Then the final change that we were recommending, and I don't know that we'll do that this time, is our current regs do not allow us to participate in multi-agency testing. So for example, the Turtle Creek cog at times will do, and many Shea cog will do them, a number of different multi-agency organizations like the cogs will do multi-agency testing for all those municipalities. We share the cost in it, but it also sort of increases the pool of applicants as well. Our regs do not permit us to participate in that, and again, whether or not we do that this time really isn't all that important. We just think that if we're going to amend the regs, we might want to add that as a possibility, so that if we were to recommend it for this time or in the next time we were putting together an applicant list, that we have that ability. Those are the three changes.
I think it's a good idea.
Any other discussion?
I like it too.
Okay, agenda item.
Okay, so what this will be, so because this is an amendment to the ordinance, this will have to be advertised. So it does not need to be an ordinance for next week, but I do need to get it advertised so that you can adopt it next month.
So we'll vote in June.
Yes. Item number 9 is the request from the police department and staff to establish a new civil service hiring list. Our current list will expire on May 20th. We also don't have any applicants available. I don't want to use the word desirable, but we've vetted all the applicants and there's nobody there that we recommend hiring, and the list will expire on May 20th anyway. At this time, and we've reviewed the list with the Civil Service Commission, they concur that the list will expire on May 20th and that there's no more viable candidates on the existing list. At this time, we're asking council to authorize the establishment of a new police hiring list.
Now, do we have any control over how long we can keep the list active until we have to vacate it?
The list is active under the Borough Code. The list is active for 12 months unless the Civil Service Commission acts formally to extend it for another 12 months.
Okay, all right.
This list was extended by gubernatorial proclamation because of the pandemic.
Because of COVID, yeah. All right.
Otherwise, the list would have been expired a while ago.
Any other discussion?
520 is gone, right?
Yes. Any other discussion? Okay, agenda item.
Item number 10 is also an executive session discussion to discuss possible consulting services. Item number 11 is an executive session item to discuss delinquent real estate taxes. Item number 12 is a request from the tax collector to increase the duplicate tax bill fee from $2.50 to $5. There's a letter in your agenda packets from the tax collector explaining why, and the fact that most other communities charge about that same amount. The only problem that we're sort of faced with is we do not have the duplicate tax bill fee specifically listed in our fee ordinance, so we'd have to come up with some other way, whether or not council can just simply adopt a resolution establishing the duplicate tax bill fee from $2.50 to $5.
I think that 250's been around since Nesbitt was the collector.
Any other discussion? Okay, agenda item.
Item number 13 is also an executive session item to discuss possible property acquisition negotiations. And that is all of the agenda items that I have for this evening. And I would point out that I did receive, and we discussed briefly, that I did receive a request from the library board, that you all have that letter, but unfortunately it was after I had published the agenda.
Is anyone here present from the library board who'd like to speak? The whole board. Or the whole board, if y'all want to come up together, that's fine.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you for letting us address you here this evening. For those of you who don't know me, I am Laura Mason. I am the president of the Board of Trustees of the Plum Boro Community Library. With me this evening are Dee Dee Kenny, our new director, Pam Calfo. I'm assuming you are getting familiar with her. Meredith Hadim and Demar Solis. We are here this evening because we would like to begin a discussion with the borough to create a legal agreement to more clearly define a partnership between Plum Boro and the Plum Boro Community Library. I'd like to invite Meredith Hadim up to discuss that proposal with you.
Did you actually have an opportunity to look at the letter at all? Did you have any questions before I go off? So essentially what we're asking for is, we've gone through a long process of trying to figure out where the library stands and where the borough stands in our relationship already. There doesn't seem to be anything in writing currently between those two entities, so we would like to create something. As of now, you've provided us quite graciously financial support for a number of years, picking up the slack when the school district stopped funding us and you picked up the remaining amount, for which we're truly grateful. So that would be one element of a written agreement that we would hope to continue the funding that you've currently been able to provide us with, and then to eventually, we would hope, post-pandemic and everything improving for all of us, to eventually build up towards more funding, because there's state funding that is available. The state funding dropped several years ago quite significantly, and the current requirements are $5 per capita for the library to spend on services to the community. As of right now, the amount that you are funding us is $3.53, which puts us out a little bit. And fundraising being what it is, that's kind of a flexible thing that we are constantly battling, as you know, with your own issue, your own budget. So we would look to gain some more stable revenue from the borough, which would continue to build our state funding. So the more we put into the community, we could exceed that and gain incentive grants from the state as well. We also receive regional asset development money, and those things are all changing every year. So we are truly grateful for the very stable provisions that you've made for us. In addition to finances, we would look to get help in our property. So we have finally established, thanks to Mike, that we have a deed. We didn't really have documentation of that to this point. And we had an agreement of sale from several years ago. Unfortunately, budgets being what they are for us, we can't afford right now we put a new roof on last year. I think at the cost of $30,000 roughly. And, but there's a lot of trimming and tree removal, and we can't be seen from the road where we currently are. We kind of tuck up behind the community center. The hillside, as a part of the site plan, is starting to erode. I mean, it was built in 1993 originally, and then adjusted in 2010. So there are some things that we could use your resources to help us with. We do receive, we believe we get, we have snow removal and trash removal currently. There's we have some big potholes that we could use some repairs. I know Pam had addressed those things with you last month, I'm sorry. So those sorts of things we would appreciate your assistance in tackling. And then in addition to that, we would look to have some help in incorporating. I've established that we have not been incorporated in our history, which is causing us some catch-up. So we are also increasing and changing our insurance policies and a number of different things to improve the standing of the library in the community and as protections for ourselves as an entity, which would in turn protect you as an entity also. So one thing that we would appreciate would be for you to list, and I have the documents if you wanted to see what they specifically say about incorporating, and then there is one document about appropriating the fictitious name, where you would be listed as an entity with interest in the business of the library. So I have spoken with Dane Dice, and he said he specializes more in municipal and government law. So we are seeking nonprofit guidance as well, but in the event of a lawsuit, in the meantime, we could use his assistance also.
So are you trying to get set up as a 501c3? Is that your
We've
your
been a
goal?
501c3 as an unincorporated association for our history. So, but we have not been incorporated.
But you don't have like an entity ID from the IRS?
We do.
Stating.
We have an EIN.
So then,
There is a 501c3 status where you can be an unincorporated association.
I see, okay.
And we have been that, not knowing that we were. And so I started researching into, again, the facilities assistance that we needed, the potholes and the tree that's down and those different things. And in coming into realizing that we didn't have a survey, we didn't know who actually owned the property, we didn't have a deed to the property, that kind of led me on a rabbit trail to finding out that we're not incorporated, we're missing some insurance policies that we are catching up on, and we will be adding those in June, I believe. We're voting on those and meeting with the insurance companies to increase that coverage drastically, which also leads us to changing our bylaws and numerous other cogs that are spinning simultaneously. In return for all of those things, we know that we're asking of you, we need to give the community a lot more than perhaps we've given in the past, which includes increasing programming across the board. We want to partner in the different community events that you offer. We would love to have a table at Summerfest and Winterfest and all the different things. Let us come and set up some cornhole or something where we can play some games and get our faces out there. Invite the community in, increasing our resources that offer visually impaired people access to books and our online services. We have handicap accessible and all different sorts. We're increasing that as well. We're seeking a grant to get different handicap accessibility. Hearing impaired, a number of different things. So we want to increase not only our visibility, which in the letter I mentioned that we could use any social media access that you may have to help us, as we list you on our website and could advertise things for you if desired, like your community-wide events. And so we could be kind of an integrated system in that way. So that would be sort of, I guess the written agreement would be a 3-component entity. One would be seeking additional promises of, yes, this is where we're starting with our finances. We'd love to have, based on our measurable goals, we have 2019 data on the number of registered users that we have, the various programs we have for each age group, the number of attendance, and I would use those numbers rather than current numbers, given the climate. So by increasing those numbers and percentages, we could demonstrate to you that your money is definitely well spent. We provide jobs for a lot of community members. That's where a majority of our money goes, is providing staff funding. So that would reinvest. And also, eventually, I would hope that by you investing more money, we can gain more state aid, we can gain more services, and it's just a perpetuating cycle. We would like to be self-sustaining, but unfortunately, that's not really the environment either of us lives in. So, and I think that would be a benefit, too, to the community for you to be able to offer an additional community resource that we don't really have right now. I work at the YMCA. They offer a totally different parameter. And, the community center offers a totally different, realm of offerings. So I think the library has an opportunity to meet people where they are from cradle to grave in a variety of different ways. So we would like to help benefit the community, which could increase your real estate and market differently as well.
Well, thank you so much for all the information. I mean, I definitely learned quite a bit just from what you're saying, and I think a lot of the vision that you have for moving forward with the library, I think we're all in support of it. What we'd like you to do, we talked to Mr. Thomas, and we'd like Mr. Thomas to meet with the board to discuss some of the intricacies associated with what you guys are doing from an incorporation perspective, and also getting the borough's assistance so he can kind of give you the guidance that your board needs to move forward with it. And then with respect to funding and things of that nature, we can discuss that after we come through, what your organization's doing and how we get the support to you initially. But yeah, I really like the vision that you guys are putting forth, and we need to stay more connected,
Yeah.
so that we are plugged in with what you guys are doing, and then we can kind of plan to support you, as needed based on the initiatives that you guys are setting forth over the course of the next year, 2 years, 3 years. But yeah, I think it's good information. Guys, you got any additional comment?
Let's get the meeting made and go from there.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Okay,
Thanks for
great.
Look
coming.
forward to continuing the conversation and the relationship as
So do
move
we.
forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You know what, Mr. Odom, I did fail to mention one thing, and
Oh, here we go.
I would be remiss.
Here we go.
I would be remiss if I forgot to mention this. I just wanted to point out, because the mayor's been working on this cat ordinance for, 17 years now.
Thank you.
We were finally able to find a partner that can handle the TNR program that we had incorporated into our ordinance. So we do have all of our Ts crossed and Is dotted right now. We are going to be advertising this ordinance, because we did advertise it a while ago, but that time frame is up within which we could adopt it. We're going to re-advertise this, so I'm happy to say we'll finally be adopting the cat ordinance at the June meeting.
Let's refer to it as the feral cat.
No, it should be the mayor's feral cat ordinance.
Yes.
So
The
we're
Schlegel.
gonna have a packed
Pete's cat.
we're gonna have a packed council meeting in June.
We would
Schlegel's
expect it.
feral
We would
cat
expect a
ordinance.
packed meeting, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas. Any
Good
comments? Any comments from citizens who are present on the work session agenda items? You're certainly welcome to come up and speak if you'd like.
I know that.
Hey, you're not the public.
I know I am, actually. I do live here, so I am. I know that last month, a resident had talked to us about a community garden. You had asked me to get some information.
Yes.
We did speak with Penn Hills. We also the city of Pittsburgh. So Penn Hills and the city of Pittsburgh, although they have community gardens, do not own, I shouldn't say that. They don't manage, they own they provide the land for free. In Penn Hills, the Penn Hills Community Development Corporation, which is a separate entity, runs the community garden. Penn Hills does not. Penn Hills provides some compost through their leaf program, their leaf composting program like we have. But Penn Hills does not provide any other staff or support or anything for that. The city of Pittsburgh, everything that's done is through the Grow Pittsburgh organization. And so, what we would recommend is this Grow Pittsburgh organization does a lot of outreach and is very happy to help communities get something started. But I was not able to get any information on liability or O&M costs because they don't maintain or they don't. The property is owned by the municipalities, so that's included in our bulk liability insurance policies, but they don't provide any O&M or anything, so I wasn't able to find any costs associated with these programs.
So one thing I wanted to do is
Good.
I know the group's probably coming back next week for the council voting meeting. There was a resident who had approached me, and I can't remember who it was, who recommended that we contact the YMCA, or maybe we get this group to contact the YMCA, because they have a lot of land out there, and they may be willing to work with the group that wants to set up, this type of a community garden. And I think that's a great area over there for them to potentially leverage. I just don't know whether that's something the YMCA would consider. But I think it's something we probably should look into, because they got quite a bit of land out there, and maybe putting in a community garden is something that they would like to see happen, and they can, tie up with this group and maybe, move down that road. The borough could certainly still, work with the two groups in
We could certainly
promoting
provide
it,
the compost.
but we wouldn't necessarily have to provide the land, and then the liability and things of that nature wouldn't be on the borough because they'd be working through the YMCA.
The one thing I wanted, as an alternative, maybe, if the YMCA isn't, or whatever the group comes upon, as far as how much property they need, I was talking with Karen from the senior center, and they own a pretty large piece of ground between the senior center and the senior housing. there. The center itself has more of that property, it's not in the middle. The center owns more than half of that. So she would be willing to do something there with that too, if they would be,
That's another
want
option.
that. Yeah, it's another option, so I just want to bring that forward. The only thing we would have to do as a borough would be to get a hose bib outside for them to use,
Just
maybe a
to-
little water, that's all.
I know I'm always the guy that has to rain on everybody's parade, but
It's already
the-
borough
Or rain
property.
everybody's garden, right?
The center doesn't own the land, the borough does. The center,
Okay. Well,
it's
what would the
borough
borough, what would
property.
the borough feel about that
So
then?
the borough could do it.
Well, we're back
Okay.
into the same.
Then don't rain on my
circular
parade
loop.
needlessly. Give me something when I have.
But, I mean, both good ideas we can explore.
Right, yeah,
I
exactly.
figured that's something we could communicate
I
to
know
them
there was
when they-
another option, that's good to know, yeah.
Right, yeah, so. Okay, any other comments from people present tonight? If not, we'll be adjourning for executive session. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.